Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson from the Sound of Tomorrow show. You're listening to WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Coming up next on that Sound of Tomorrow show that I've previously mentioned, we're going to be talking about misinformation. We're going to be talking about flirting. Finally, if you've been listening, we've been banding this about for weeks now, but we're going to get to it today, I swear. And also, Heather's got some car hacks. So if you need to hack a car, she's your woman. That's coming up next. But first,
Ross, I am so sorry I'm late.
oh, no worries, Heather, but is everything okay?
Oh, yeah, just a work meeting ran over. My coworker fell asleep on my lap and I didn't want to wake him.
Oh, no. Someone in your office fell asleep on your lap?
Yeah, it happens rarely, but it does happen.
Is this the guy you've told me about before? The one who never does a lick of work, but sometimes licks his hands at work?
Yep.
I swear, Heather, you need to report him to HR.
I've tried, but everyone at the office loves him so.
Still, okay, it's still super inappropriate, Heather, that he was on your lap, your lady lap area at work.
I know. And I actually did call this meeting today to discuss his and my working relationship.
Okay, that is at least a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, he and I do work closely on a lot of projects because his cube is right in actually my office and actually it's cardboard box. But still, so it's convenient to get FaceTime with him, But we really do have some things we need to work on.
Yeah, Heather, from what you've told me, you sure do.
I agree. So I called the meeting and sent out the agenda, but he kept adding stuff to it.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, I wanted to discuss his hours. I was hoping we could reach an agreement about him running up and punching me when he's hungry.
Ooh.
I wanted to address how he pulls my headset off because the cord looks like string. All of it. But truly, it's like he didn't hear me speaking and he just saw my mouth moving.
Okay, seriously, Heather, shouldn't you just report him? I mean,
But he's always derailing agendas, adding topics to discuss, why is he so cute? How long has he been cute? How did he get to be so cute? And we've already covered this a million times. He's cute because he can't help it. He's been cute his entire life, though I didn't know him when he was a tiny baby. And he's gotten so good at being cute because he's had years of practice.
that sounds really frustrating.
Oh, thank you. It is.
Did he also want to talk about how many fangs he has?
I think it's an EEO violation for me to ask.
Yeah, right. Heather. So, I know you love this joke.
Hey, my work is not a joke, Ross.
Of course, your work is not a joke, Heather, but you've done this skit before, talking about your coworker's outrageous behavior, and then you reveal your coworker is Nigel, your cat you can't go 5 minutes without talking about.
Well, I haven't done a skit about having a meeting with him.
That's true. Very true. You got me there. Why don't we maybe get on with the show?
Well, I guess. Thanks for playing along, though.
You know what? For you, pretty much anything.
I do
Never again, though. But anything.
Again, when I rewrite this one, I'm pretty much out of ideas.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power.
We want to welcome you back.
Sound of Tomorrow on WAYOLP Rochester. I was just talking to Ross because I never stopped talking.
Here we are. Where would you rather be than right here amongst your friends on the radio?
That's right. Nobody would rather be anywhere.
If you're listening to the show, we're probably all you have. Let's be real. So,
I'm so sorry. That's a bleak life.
It is. It's a little bleak. So, now I'm depressed.
I know. Now I just feel really bad. If we are all you have, drop us a line at jimmyspaceplay@gmail.com and let us know, and we'll send you something to try to cheer you up.
We will absolutely send you a nice card. You know what I just saw? So this is
What did you just see?
I'm going to throw this out because I think we have a lot of Buffy fans among our listeners.
I bet we do.
I think we do. Despite some, some things we've learned about Joss Whedon that aren't too savory, I
Yes.
think we still like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I think we do.
So there is going to be a sequel trilogy of books from the author of Anna Dressed in Blood and Three Dark Crowns. You read a lot of YA, so I didn't know if you know this, but Kendare or Kendare Blake. She writes the Three Crowns series. She's writing she's writing a trilogy of books about Willow's daughter, Frankie, who all the Slayers maybe die, including Buffy, but maybe not. And she's a witch, and then she becomes a Slayer because of all the Slayers are gone. And then she's got a werewolf friend named Jake and a demon friend that helps her out. And she's got to solve the mystery of what happened to all the Slayers and save the world, etc. That's coming out in January 4th. I just saw that. I thought that was interesting and fun.
Yeah, so wait. All the Slayers don't have to die for a new Slayer to be born, but does it say there specifically all the Slayers are dead?
Well, all the Slayers no, it says that all the Slayers sort of disappear and they might be dead.
Oh.
So I bet they're not.
Oh.
But I think they do. Don't they do?
Convention.
Don't they have to die?
At the end, they reversed that and activated all the Slayers without anyone having to die.
Oh, that's true. But then how do you get a new Slayer at that point? I don't know.
Just one who is born with the potential to be a Slayer just becomes a Slayer.
So you can just be born. You could be a Slayer baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, doesn't it somehow activate when you're a teenager?
Oh.
Like, you're not a Slayer kid, I don't think.
Well, I thought they were. I don't know. Like if you were 5 years old and they needed a Slayer, would you be a Slayer baby? I don't know. Maybe not. Sounds ridiculous. So I'm going to say no. It sounds stupid.
I think you should write that series, Slayer Baby.
I think I'm going to.
I think you should. I think it's a good idea. I'm
working on my pitch also for Disney for my Golden Girls prequel novel.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm very, this was based on an out of context clip from Golden Girls about how the time nobody would sleep with Rose because she was radioactive. And we never learned how she got radioactive. I feel like it's a story
working in the watch factory.
That's not, well, that might be the answer, but we don't know that for a fact, Heather. And you also might have just ruined my book pitch. So thank you for that. Thank you for shattering my dreams with 1 sentence. Good job.
Hey, I'm the one who gave you Radium Girls for your birthday. So,
it's true.
I think if you got that idea, that was because you got that book.
I didn't have that idea, but now I have it now, and I'll have to pay you some money or something, which I won't.
It's fine.
Because they're probably not going to buy my book they're probably not going to accept my book pitch about how Rose got radioactive and nobody would sleep with her. So I don't know. It's a long shot. It's a long shot anyway.
You can just go ahead and self-publish it.
I feel like if you have a property owned by Disney, they probably have better lawyers than me.
From what I've heard, they really do. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of them, and they are very good, and they are very swift from what I hear.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that my unauthorized Golden Girls novel would wind up being... What if you
call it the Schmolden Schmerls?
The Silver Ladies.
Yes.
All right. I'm thinking on it.
Yeah, definitely. The Copper
Heather,
Cuties.
I want to hear about flirting. I want to know everything there is to know about flirting, and I have it on good authority that you can tell us. And you've had this and listen, I'm going to preface this as well, because I see you pulling out a giant book there. You can't see it on the radio if you're listening, but I can see it on camera. I can see her pulling out a giant book, and I want it known that we've been talking about doing this for like a month. So you better be off book on this topic by this point. Otherwise,
do you think I've reading touched verbatim these pages
from a piece of paper, I'm canceling our show. That's it. That's all there is to it.
You think I've been studying these pages
I've
in the
made.
past several
I think
weeks?
I've said all I'm going to say on it. So you go right ahead.
When you have something you were going to bring to the show, do you, if we don't cover it, do you go back and you study up on it for a while,
We're not
or do
talking
you
about me.
completely forget
We're not talking about me.
anything
We're
that
not
was in
talking
the
about me.
article? I'm talking about you.
This is not
I'm
about
talking
me.
about you right now.
I didn't.
What if I want to flirt with you? It might be about you.
This is. I think this is more negging at this point. I think is that in your included in your.
No, nagging is bad.
Yeah.
It's
Does it
very
work
bad.
though? Do we think it works?
I think people are onto it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think maybe back in the day, maybe someone fell for it. Maybe if it were really cleverly done by someone that they really really liked.
I bet a lot of people fell for it. I don't want to be like, I'm not encouraging it because I think it's terrible. It's a terrible way to be. And I think it probably only worked because women were trained to be, women have been trained to be deferential and also to think badly of themselves.
Low self-esteem, yes.
So, but I bet it worked an awful lot. Otherwise, people wouldn't have been doing it all the time. I don't think it worked for any
Yeah.
good reasons or that you should do it. But
No, it's definitely terrible. And I'm thinking when I was young, I definitely had people who would try things like that, but mostly only with things I had control over. So it would be like, oh, well, if you didn't wear so much makeup, you'd be so much prettier. Or if you wore this style of clothing, you'd be so much prettier, that kind of thing.
hmm.
But I think there is also the negging where somebody might say to someone like me, a brown eyed person, like, if only you had blue eyes, you would be so gorgeous.
Yeah, and you have a hard
Rotten.
yeah, you have a hard time imagining how that kind of thing works, but I guess there's a lot of low self-esteem out there.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, like, it it knocks at someone's self-confidence. So it's a weird kind of way of thinking that someone needs to be knocked down a peg, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like
But
it. I don't like it at all.
people sometimes want to be knocked down a peg. I'm not encouraging negating. Again,
No way.
it's a fascinating and I don't know if it's just cuz I'm a boy, but I have a hard time
So you don't think boys
under
do it to boys?
No, I think boys absolutely I think boys do it to boys. I
Okay.
absolutely think that. But I feel like it doesn't work on me cuz I'm easily annoyed. Um,
No, I mean, well,
like
I
I have
would.
a really low patience level, and that's usually a really bad thing. But in some circumstances, like why are you? And I will say there have been I've known people that I've not been unattracted to, even though they were kind of mean to me. So I mean, I guess on some level, I can start to see, I can maybe start to see why where it works a little bit, but I don't know for a fact that I would have been more attracted to them if they had been nice to me. But then if they're nice to you, you sort of get like you think I don't know. Yeah, I mean there is something about somebody who's hard to get, and if somebody's being mean to you, that's kind of hard to get. I mean, if somebody's too approachable, you sort of feel like what's wrong with you? Why are you so obvious? Why are you so easy? I don't know. Why is it? You know what I'm talking about. I
Interesting.
mean, don't, and don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about. That the whole thing of like someone being like someone who if someone's a little harder to get, the exact same person with the exact same personality, sometimes it's more attractive than if they're like, "Hey, how are you, Heather? You're very pretty today. It's nice to see you today. How are you? Your teeth are looking lovely, and you're just wonderful." You're like, "What is wrong with this person that they're? Why is this?" Like, why are they so desperate? There must be something wrong with
Okay.
them.
I mean, I do remember that from like back in the day, especially like being out somewhere, and it would be like, why will this guy not leave me alone? But those situations, I wasn't interested in the person; they were just bothering me.
Yeah.
But
But
But this is interpersonal workings when you're out at the dance club.
Yeah.
Um, this is from NPR, I believe, and it's an article by Andrew Limbong and Andy Tagle called The Key to Flirting. It's not about you.
Not about me.
It's not
Then
about
what
you.
the hell is the point?
So even though we're not going to get to a hot back summer, it's not going to
No.
happen. This was from some weeks ago, when we thought bars could open and parties could be a thing, and masks
Sure.
were going to come off and we were going to have a hot back summer. But instead, maybe people were bracing for a lukewarm return to awkward chit chat with people you find attractive.
Yeah, man.
The first thing, see, these are a few concrete tips to help you get better at flirting. And it's supposed to be nothing corny or weirdly creepy. And then they say, okay, one slightly corny thing. So we're all excited to find out what that is because I have not looked at this article in well over a month. So remember.
You don't have to share everything.
Why not?
I'm just saying.
I thought we agreed on this show that honesty was the best policy.
You're sort of nagging yourself at this point.
No.
Yeah.
I can be honest about who I am. Remember that flirting isn't about you. One way to ease the fear of rejection is to view flirting as being more about the other person than about you. You get a much better result if instead of trying to get others to make us feel good, we actually concentrate on making them feel good. Says Gene Smith, author of the book Flirtology. Stop swiping, start talking, and find love. So that sounds like a surefire book. So when you are trying to make somebody else feel good, you don't have all those weird self-doubt questions like, oh, what if they don't like me? Or what if I'm not charming or funny? And so you just don't put your expectations on the person and just focus on them. Ooh, Ross is narrowing his eyes.
No, it's just no, because it sounds like I don't want to. I'm not nagging you here. I'm trying to process what you've just told me because it sounds like what you've just kind of told me is like if you would like to be better at this is what I heard. Okay, if you would like to be better at flirting, be good at flirting.
I think what they're saying,
like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that? Because that's like
a little later in this part about remembering that it's not about you is instead of having preconceived goals, just aim for a few minutes of pleasant conversation.
Okay, that helps me.
So instead of going, I'm going to flirt with this person, then I'm going to ask for their number. Now I'm already planning where I'm taking them on their first date. And on our first anniversary, we are going to go to Toronto together. On our 5th anniversary, I'm going to ask them to marry me. And then after that, we'll have 2 kids. Like, don't go into it like
just totally how I go
like
into
the weight
every
of
conversation
the world
I've ever had.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
How are we going to have babies? Thank you.
So
when are the babies coming? That's what
right. But
I'm so bad at flirting. I've literally just that's been my opening line. So that's I guess this is why this is challenging for me, this piece.
Well, so you've been married forever, so
yes. Yeah.
I mean, so obviously that line worked when it needed to.
Right.
When you first met your husband and he was so handsome, he said, when are the babies coming? And it was forever.
That's all I needed.
That was it.
Yeah. So I think that's, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'm going to recommend when are the babies coming as an opening line. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you weren't supposed to have any preconceived ideas about how things were going to turn out anyway. And I hope you didn't because
you were just aiming for a few minutes of pleasant conversation, which I'm sure that's how most of those start. So then there is also be open with your own body language. If all else fails, smile. So Smith often tells people to approach others not based on how attractive you find them, but instead on their body language. Is it friendly? Is it open? These will be the people that it'll be the most fun to talk with, regardless of whether you end up clicking. And it
Yeah, that
follows
makes
that you
sense.
should take, yeah, yeah, because again, I always,
That's kind of more attractive to me anyway. Um, that sort of, little bit of confidence, having fun, sociability, approachability. That's always more attractive to me anyway. And maybe that self-esteem, like, maybe I think I can't get the standoffish hot guy or whatever, but still, I mean, regardless, I think that's not a bad criteria anyway to
I
aim not
think it's
just for
not,
the hottest person.
yeah. And I mean, sometimes I'm sure the standoffish person is maybe just shy
Right.
or feeling awkward or something like that. And maybe they'll be really super glad if you come up and say hello.
Yeah, yeah.
And and sometimes that really definitely is the case. I definitely remember that from when I was younger. Like how many times you would see somebody, because it was the goth club, you can't just be grinning all the time,
Right.
but leaning and kind of glaring with their arms crossed, and then you just go and say hi, and it was the cutest thing. Like their whole face would light up with like, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Really, really funny.
You know what? I'll sum that up since we said sort of two contradictory things, and you can tell me if this
We
makes sense.
did.
Go for an overall look for the overall vibe.
Yeah,
Try to
definitely.
look for the overall vibe, and it's not necessarily just whether they're super outgoing or whatever, and it's not necessarily are they just like super hot in your eyes, but look for an overall vibe.
Yeah, and
Multi vector flirting. That's what I
it
call it.
says too, if you're trying to attract people, thinking about your own body language can be important. Like if you're standing there looking grumpy with your arms crossed,
Mm-hmm.
maybe people are going to go like, "Oh, I guess they just want to be left alone."
Yeah.
Because the whole like crossed arms, grumpy faces kind of body language shorthand for just don't bother me, okay?
Yeah.
And it does say that Michael Rivera, a dating coach at The Date Maven, a dating and matchmaking consultancy, says the most important aspect of body language is your smile. A happy, genuine smile has a way of lowering walls. And if you can get the person you're trying to connect with to lower their walls a little, you're already halfway there.
Okay.
Which that's like definitely true because with our grumpy looking crossed arm person, on occasion, if you're interested in
You
them,
could just use my name. It's fine.
Ross, if you
I'm
want
right
to
here.
see if this person is open to your attentions, if you like catch their eye and smile at them, sometimes they'll smile back, which is a nice body language symbol of like, oh, I was looking all grumpy and crossed armed, but I acknowledge you, human being, and I smiled.
Yeah. And it's probably, this has got me thinking too, they talk about, you've heard people talk about, and I don't know if this is the extent to which this is true or not, but, you hear about married or attached people being more attractive. And it might just be that relaxedness and not, the fact that you're not, you might be there to chat with people or have a good time. And I'm not saying, they're just because you're attached or married or whatever doesn't mean you're not there looking for anything else. But and that of course depends on your relationship. That's a whole other thing. But
Right.
my, you know, there's probably in someone who's not necessarily showing up looking for anything, other than to chat and have a, maybe chat with some people and have a good time and whatever. Um, there's probably an attractiveness to that, because you don't have that end goal, like you said. Like I'm not approaching this as a 5 point plan. I'm approaching this
Right.
as let's just have a pleasant chat or a nice time and see what happens. So
Yep,
it all
absolutely.
ties
And I'll
together.
add that also holds true as a general rule of the people who are simply not looking, like they're single and they're not looking to flirt. They're not
Hmm.
looking to have a date. They don't have the 10-year plan like you usually do with the babies and everything.
Right. Where are my babies? I always think of I'm gonna throw this out. It's completely off topic, but this is what this puts me in mind of. So there was and I feel like this is a very sad there's a very sad story at the heart of this, but it nevertheless always sort of makes me laugh. Like there was this young lady that I went to college with, and I don't know her name. I never really knew her. Um, but I was at a couple of different, like freshman year, I was at a couple of different like school group things, like you're trying out, you're going to the introductory meeting for whatever. And I went to two different ones. One was for Amnesty International, and they were like, okay, so we do this and this and this and blah 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 blah. And this is what we do. And any questions? And a couple of people were like, blah, blah. And this this young woman stands up and she goes, I need to get to Guatemala. How can I get to Guatemala? Again, I feel, and this happened at another group that was sort of like, it was like Doctors Without Borders or something. And I don't know why I felt like I needed to tell you that story right now, but it's, she always pops into my head when there's like a really like extreme me asking for babies
Yeah.
is the equivalent of I need to get to Guatemala.
Wow.
Don't be that in the thing. And you're all, and again, I'm sure that I feel like there's a very sad story behind that is very
There
like
must
she
be
needed some
that.
kind of help and nobody was giving it to her, and I was a little freshman, me was not going to be the one to figure out how to do that. But I guess potential tragedy there aside, maybe don't be her in a flirting situation.
See, I was going to say that dovetails perfectly with the next suggestion given in the article. I need to
So
tell you
glad.
honestly, because the next suggestion is open with a question like, how can I get to Guatemala?
Okay.
Who can help me get to Guatemala?
It can work. It can work.
Will you help me get to Guatemala?
It's probably not funny.
I know.
Probably not funny. But
it probably isn't.
It has made me laugh for 20 years.
It says here, don't overthink this one. Simple questions like, how can I get to Guatemala? Or will you help me get to Guatemala? Will do just fine.
I'm going to remember that.
The questions are actually like,
that sounds,
so would I.
Yeah.
I mean, these days it's much more doable than when I was a freshman in college. I mean, if somebody were begging me to help them get to Guatemala, I would be like,
I don't.
With like what money?
I don't have a
with
car.
What resources? Like,
yeah.
Do you want my parents to drive you? I can like ask them, but they drove me here,
right,
and dropped me off at the dorm. Like I don't.
Yeah.
The questions they actually suggest are, have you been here before? Or how do you know so-and-so? And those can be nice little icebreakers. They also suggest, if they don't say where you are, but they say gear your questions toward their likes. What do you recommend? I suppose that could be on any topic. Food, drink, music, movies, anything. Sounds a little formal to me.
As a way to get to Guatemala.
Yeah, I know, right? And you could ask, are there any good places to eat around here? Which is something I would kind of ask if I were in a part of town I don't ever go to, I guess.
That's true. I mean, I guess you I would think you would want to try to keep it as, I mean, in that people know, depending on the situation, people know that people are going to, I feel like if I'm the flirty, I may be aware that people are, pick up, not pick up lines, but it's awkward to strike up a conversation with someone who's not there or who's who you don't know in any situation, in a work situation, whatever. But if I'm the, I feel like you want to keep it as sincere as possible, even though acknowledging it's probably going to be a little insincere. And me as if I'm the flirty, maybe me also recognize that like that's okay because what there aren't a lot of great, really organic ways to just walk up to someone and start talking. We just haven't really invented that in our
Right.
culture.
Yeah, and like the how do you know so and so? I think that works for some kind of big party somewhere where there's
Hmm.
a particular person, or if, you have a mutual friend.
Right.
I think it's specific, but I think the point of this is you can kind of start with something a little bit more general.
Yeah.
I know, even not flirting wise, I've had interesting conversations with just people out at bars or whatever about the place we're at.
Right.
Like you go out to a craft cocktail place, and if people at the other table are also chatty, it can be fun to go like, "Wait, what did you get?" And then you're showing each other your drinks and like
Yeah.
looking at the menu, and it can just be a fun way to kind of get the ball rolling.
Well, and those are, I don't always know how those situations develop. So I always know how to create them except for the tips that you're providing me right now.
Right.
It's always sort of a cool thing when those things sort of happen
Mhm.
and again, like I said, I don't know how they happen, but you've been in those experiences where either one-on-one or your group and another group or a couple, you and a friend and another friend, somehow you just strike up a thing, you
Yeah.
strike up a conversation and you're laughing and goofing around and it's fun and like you've known each other for a long time, but
Yep.
you're just having fun kind of getting to know each other. I've certainly had it happen. I never know how and I've even kind of analyzed just because I'm weird like that. Like I'm sort of like, I wonder how
Mhm.
that happened. And then I can't figure out like where it came from. And, sometimes there's just chemistry, but
Yeah, I the most recent time, and it wasn't very long ago, um, it was like the people at the bar just seemed friendly and the music was really good and everybody could overhear each other, and it just kind of turned into everyone at this small bar just talking with each other. And
yeah.
I know, like, one guy ordered a drink that looked fancy. So of course, obnoxious me, I'm like, oh, wow, what did you get? And I wasn't even trying to flirt. I just wanted to know what he got because it looked real
Yeah.
fancy. And it just, then he was telling us what he got and everything. So it really can, if you're a little bit obnoxious and you just are willing to ask a friendly question.
Hmm. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it helps if someone's a little obnoxious, whether it's you or someone else. I think that's my own personal tip. And that's a fine line
It
because you
is.
can very quickly become like it can very quickly become like obnoxious. We don't want anything to do with this person.
It
That is a
can.
fine line, and I think I've walked both sides of that. I'm sort of hot or cold. I can depending on my mood and the vibe of the place, I can either be the person scowling in the corner,
Mhm.
with my
Me
arms
too.
crossed, or I can be like Mr. Sociable. I'm chatting with everybody. I'm talking to everybody. I'm super cool. It's super fun.
I
Um,
know.
so and again, I think it's my mood. I think it's how many drinks I've had. It's
Yep.
it's a lot of factors, but um, I think I've definitely been both sides of that. Where like I'm
Yes.
having fun. I'm asking questions. I'm talking to people. I'm striking up conversations. And it's like, oh, this is really nice. I'm making friends. Look at me. And then I've been like, I'm sure, even if I didn't realize it at the time, I'm sure I've been oh my God, this guy. Why won't he go away?
Yeah. Well, and I hate to say this kind of, but also it's hilarious. I believe there have been times when you and I together have been those people
Hmm.
out somewhere, and you and I are careening around just like talking with everybody, and we're at 110. And then there are other times definitely where you and I have been out or in a space where we're in the corner. We are
Yeah.
talking quietly with each other. Please, nobody approach us because we have our arms crossed and we would
Hmm.
not like to see anyone at all. So,
Yeah.
so I'm with you. I completely can do the hot cold, and also just I'm in a social space and I'm having a nice time, but I'm neither greeting everyone nor am I rebuffing anyone. I'm
Hmm.
having a good time.
I like, I will say, I do like one of the things that works for me is if um, there's someone else who's pushing that line of obnoxious. Because then you can sort of ride that energy, but not be the obnoxious person. You know what I mean? You can sort of get in,
Yeah.
and you can almost be like, oh, I'm just being polite, interacting with this obnoxious person. But then you can sort of pull other people in, and it's sort of that's a whole thing. That's a thing I think I've worked a couple times where it's like, oh, okay, there's someone else being obnoxious, so they're initiating things.
Yep.
Other people may or may not be a little bit annoyed by this obnoxious person, but I'm not the obnoxious person. But I can be like the second most obnoxious, or the person who's sort of polite and friendly to everybody, and is gonna interact with the obnoxious person, even though I'm enjoying the obnoxious person. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's like they say, the thing about being like the assistant coach, right? Like the coach is the person that everybody complains about, but if you can be the assistant coach, then everybody comes to you to, you know, either complain to you or to tell you the coach is doing great, or to complain about the coach. Like if you're the assistant coach, you can be everybody's friend. If you're the second most, this is my flirting advice, be the second most obnoxious person in the bar. You don't want to
I
be in the
love it. I
corner.
think that's good.
You don't want to be in the corner scowling. That's the least obnoxious person, but you're not gonna, I mean, unless
Yeah,
you
if you want
just
to
want to,
flirt with somebody,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I think you also just want to watch the show and you're like, please come on. No, thank you. Just please. I want to watch the
Yeah.
show.
And see, and I'm a little funny like that too, just because I don't live within walking distance of any place or anything like that. So if I go to a bar, usually I'm either there with friends, and that can be a whole thing too, where you're like, I'm with my friends, I don't want to talk to anybody else. But if I'm with a bar, I sort of feel like I'm either looking for a social situation or expecting a social situation. You know what I mean? Even if maybe I'm not in the mood for it, maybe I've been dragged out. I'm tired or whatever. I'm not in the mood for it, but I don't feel like I go into a bar situation unprepared for socializing.
Yep. Yeah. And I know we're only talking about bars here. You can certainly flirt many other places.
You can do this at
Um,
church. Be the second most obnoxious person at your church.
Person at church, at the grocery store,
The grocery store. Yeah.
at the library.
Library.
No, actually, that's where like what do you recommend? Because if you're both in the mystery section or something like,
Yeah.
oh, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
After opening with a question, this is kind of a good counterpoint or good follow-up to our be the second most obnoxious person, because the next step is to test and assess. Which testing, I don't love that word, but it more to me what they're trying to say is pay attention to how the person you're flirting with is reacting. Are they just kind of giving terse answers? Did they step back? Are they looking away? If so, take those cues too.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It might just be time to like go like, hey, it was so nice to meet you. And go off and check out the YA section at the library, or go into where the band is playing and take in a song or two.
Or
And
go into
it
the
does
confessional.
go into the
Moment.
confessional. Go
I don't know.
teach
I don't know.
Sunday school.
I don't know how churches work, but
Go down to the basement and get a cup of percolator coffee.
sure.
Um,
Because you're
but it's
flirting at the hospital
or the church.
or the church.
Yeah, and it says if it's time to leave, that's not a bad thing, particularly if you remember, flirting isn't about hitting any preconceived personal goal. Other than helping someone else have a good time and having a few minutes of pleasant conversation. And it says here, there's a level of confidence to that too, where you're the one who goes like, hey, it was so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And then you're off.
Yeah.
And then the next step to that is say goodbye. And this is kind of how to do it, though I think I just gave a pretty simple example. It's not that hard. But if you're getting the sense it's time to go, there are a few ways to go about it. If you're with someone, a simple, hey, it's been great chatting, but I should get back to my friends, ought to do. If you're by yourself, just go about doing whatever it is you went there to do, order your coffee or whatever. It's a relatively frictionless way to make an exit.
Yeah.
If you're not sure how the conversation is going, give them an out. Hey, if you got to go, it's okay. Or let me know if you want to get back to your friends, which I think is a really nice way to check in, especially if people are out with their friends groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, like you were saying earlier, Ross, if you go out with your friends, maybe it's nice chatting with this other person at the bar for a minute. But then, I'm there. So you want to get back to me.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to leave Heather sitting by herself over in the corner for that long. She's
Yeah,
glaring. She's
right.
got her arms
She's
crossed.
got
Yeah,
her arms crossed. No, actually, she's over there yelling at some other stranger. Who
right.
knows?
Who
Who
knows?
knows?
Could be anything.
Um, but and it does mention here that there's also that way that sometimes you rotate around each other in the course of a night. If you're at a crowded party, for
Hmm.
example, you wander off, you talk to other people, then all of a sudden you're both in the kitchen, you're getting some cheese, and you strike up conversation again.
Yeah.
So just because you kind of wander away from a person doesn't mean that you will never see them again in your entire life necessarily.
So would you sum that up as let fate take a hand?
Yeah, that, and just be aware of how things are going and kind of be aware of how you're feeling too. And if you've decided that you're just ready to go, like that was fun,
It's
you're
night. It's
done.
bedtime. I'm look, it is
Right.
10:30. I am I am I haven't even I
And
didn't even watch Jeopardy tonight. I've got to get home and get to bed. I mean,
I
it's
know,
that's
I'm
it.
so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this one time. This was the dumbest thing. There was a rockabilly show, and a friend's boyfriend had this single friend that he wanted the friend's single friends to meet. And it was at a time when we were all working at a factory. So, we get dialed up, we go out to the show, we meet the friend. He's fine. He's perfectly fine. We explain that we all work in this factory and we have to clock in at 7 a.m. So, it's getting pretty late if you work in a factory and have to clock in at 7.
Right.
So we were so nice, like we were waving and smiling, goodbye, really nice to meet you, have a great night. Turned out this man was furious with us because we left the show early.
Wow.
You will never guess we did not date him.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
But with you saying I haven't even seen Jeopardy yet, I got to go to bed. I was like, yeah, people do. Or at least back in the day, there were people entitled enough to feel like these girls had to stick around for the entire night after they clearly stated that they worked in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I've yes. And I've never in my wildest days, I've never been that person who's like, "Oh, I have to go to work at 6 in the morning. I'll roll in at 5." I've never been that person. I have never been that person. I have always
Yeah.
valued I mean, I've certainly not gotten it particularly in my wildest days. I've certainly not gotten the good night's sleep that I've treasured, but I've always treasured and valued a good night's sleep. So,
Yeah, and definitely we were not having enough fun meeting
right,
this boyfriend's friend that anybody felt the urge to stay out all night with him.
right.
But we didn't say it. We were very polite. I guess he solved us having to reject him by being so furious with us because I don't think any of us were going to date him anyway, but we certainly weren't when we learned that he was so upset
Oh,
that we dared go to our respective homes to sleep for work. But so the last tip in this article, and I think that this is a good one, if you like someone, don't ask for their number. Instead, just offer yours.
oh yeah,
And at first, when I saw don't ask for their number, I was like, well, my goodness, that seems, I mean, why wouldn't you? But then when I realized it was try giving your number to someone, it says it's a small way of upending the usual power dynamics that come with flirting. And it eases some of the tension that might come up with asking for someone's number. Let people decide for themselves if they want to hit you up because it's really about them.
yeah. That's a great
And
idea.
I think that's such a great tip because, if they get home from the museum or church or the art gallery or wherever they were and the next day they're still thinking about you, maybe they'll text you.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it gives somebody an out. It sort of throws, puts the ball in their court, and it, you know, you sort of. I don't know that there's much point to cajoling a number out of someone who doesn't really want you to call them.
Right.
So like, it's sort of a waste of everybody's time. Whereas, if they've got your number, they can decide whether they're interested or not. And then, that's not the
Mm-hmm.
most, I guess that's not the most aggressive or, it's not the most goal oriented way to flirt. But our whole point of this is maybe don't be so goal oriented when you flirt. So,
Right, Ross.
yeah.
Where's the babies?
Where's the babies? I need babies. And to get to Guatemala. Please help me.
You need to take the babies to Guatemala.
I am 100% sure there is a very distressing story behind that.
I
But I really, but it's been a long time. So she either got to Guatemala or she didn't at this point. I don't know. I mean, it's at this point, it's,
yeah.
it's done. It's fine. I'm sure
Yep,
she's doing
yeah.
great.
I mean, I think it's good to have the empathy there and go like it probably was really sad, but it struck me as funny at the time and
She
still
was also,
does.
no, granted, I was a poor kid who went to my college on a lot of financial aid and things and some poor decision making on my part, frankly. But, this is also an expensive private university. So I don't know. Is it that tragic? I don't know. I don't know. I hope she's
That's
doing great. I
right.
hope she got to Guatemala and
I
everything's
don't
fine.
know. Yes, and I'll admit somewhere in my head, I think because of experiences I had when I was college age,
Mhm.
there were a lot of people who wanted to get to very far away places because they had heard about some kind of crush they had there,
Oh,
and there was
yeah.
a desperate need to get to this person, but
Oh, that's a,
it wasn't even a person that they like actually loved.
yeah. That's a good perspective too. I mean, this could have been something stupid.
I mean, it was not uncommon that somebody would be like, "I need to get to New York City right now." And again, that was one of those like, I in my invisible plane. Again, shall I
Yeah.
ask my parents to drive you in the minivan because I don't know what you want me to do for you here, but you seem like you really need me to get you to New York and I can't get me to New York.
I'm sort of beyond that as a human being, but I have to say I do remember I do remember that level of horniness. Um that was I do recall that, like, I will do literally anything right now.
Go to
Whatever it
Guatemala.
takes.
I
I I
will.
I need to get to Guatemala. um do you want to hear, can I flirt with you a little bit about on the topic of misinformation? So
Yes.
Heather,
Oh my gosh, please do.
I won't spend a lot of time on this because thank goodness we don't have a lot of show left, which is good because I don't want to talk about this too long. Um, I'm s- I'm genuinely, I know we give around a lot. I'm genuinely kind of furious at America and the world right now. I'm really upset. I mean, this whole vaccine situation, the whole vaccine refusal situation, the
Mhm.
whole misinformation and people buying into misinformation that is patently
Mhm.
ridiculous. I mean, so this was sort of based on, so according to the CDC, Monroe County is now a substantial transmission area for COVID-19. Um, and there were a bunch of various statistics about COVID-19 that are sort of are incredibly depressing, particularly in, well, like Florida. Florida, I believe, is having the, and I've lost my exact
Yeah.
statistic about this, but take my word for it. So Florida is seeing a level of infection now
Mhm.
higher than any that there has been since I think like
Yes.
May or June of last year. Um,
I heard it was actually they broke a record. That's
yeah,
what I heard on the news.
yeah. And so Evan Dawson today was talking. So Evan Dawson from
I like him.
WXXI 1370 Connection, etc. The radio host. So I guess so there was a he had mentioned something earlier this morning that he'd been contacted because they were doing a show about this. He had been contacted by several local businesses who are, even if they've not said anything, even like peremptorily, are receiving threatening phone calls about if they ever dare ask for vaccine, the things that would happen to them. He had Dan Morgenstern, the owner, or I don't know what the role is, but the person in charge of Radio Social. So they're going to
Oh,
require proof of vaccination. One
yeah.
of the callers explained to Dan Morgenstern that he is a Nazi, and this is like when they marked the Jews for extermination. Dan Morgenstern's parents were in a concentration camp, so he wanted to clarify that asking people if they've been vaccinated before you let them into your bowling alley
Mhm.
is not
Mhm.
exactly the same as
Yeah.
exterminating Jews in
Yeah.
by the millions. So, I
Oh,
mean,
wow, wow.
are they close? I don't know, but they're not the same thing. I mean, it's just the level of absurdity. So there was an article in the New York Times, and this was from. Let me pull up the name real quick because I've lost all my notes because we were having such good conversation. This is by Shira Frankel. This was an article in the New York Times about a gentleman named Joseph Mercola. So this is an osteopathic physician in Cape Coral, Florida. He's he's been designated as part of the disinformation dozen, spreading anti-vaccine messaging. So this article goes to so this is one of these people, and I won't do a lot of the details here, but um, this is a person who is one of the top names in spreading these anti-vaccination, COVID is
Oh,
fine sort of
no.
things. Um, and again, I could give you the numbers here, but these are posts that have been posted. He's a guy with a bunch of different companies. These are posts that have been posted a million different times, and it's a lot of the same sort of thing we've seen. So he's the I guess he gets by being the slightly more, like, oh, I'm just asking the question kind of thing, that kind of thing. Like,
Mm.
I'm just asking the question, why,
Mhm.
why is, you know, I don't know for a fact that Heather, eats babies in the morning, but I
Mhm.
feel like
Mhm.
why she hasn't responded to this, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, um, so
Now you know where the babies are.
correct. What are the salient points here? This is so this is a person who's been subject to regulatory penalties in the past,
Mhm.
but he's got a net worth of over $100 million, and it's from so the key there's a lot to this, and there's a lot to the misinformation thing. The key factor about this person. So, for example, in the 2000s, he would post things about how the importance of, and this is all vaguely to not source scientific data, or that kind of stuff we see a lot where it's like, oh, there's one paper that somebody
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
It's not really peer reviewed, but it's if you're not paying attention, it can maybe pass muster as something that looks sort of scientific. So
Mhm.
so for example, in the 2000s, and this is I think an example of the type of strategies of some of these people, he was there was all this he was putting out all this stuff about the benefits of tanning beds. Tanning beds are great
Oh.
because of this and this and this. You get vitamin D and blah blah blah. And again, um and then at the same time, um selling tanning beds. So as soon
Ah.
as selling tanning beds with names like Vitality and D-Light for $1,200 to $4,000 a piece. This one came up because this is one where he was actually dinged for by regulators for spreading false information, and had to give some of the money back. But again, if you're at this level, if you're making this kind of money, these
Mhm.
fines are sort of a cost of doing business.
Mhm.
So he was fined $1 million or something like that, but he's making, he's pulling in money hand over fist. So since COVID started, once COVID started, it became this thing about the vitamins, this vitamin package that we're gonna sell you that can cure your COVID. So uh, again, I could go into more detail with this, but I don't think I need to. And again, I think our listeners are fairly.
Mhm.
I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here. Um, which is a place you might, when you're at the choir at church, you might
Right.
be flirting,
Right.
picking up, meeting
Hmm.
interesting people.
What hymn do you recommend?
I'm some of this stuff, some of this stuff happens because politicians have latched onto a thing and they can use it. And I think they don't care what it is. They don't care what the consequences are. They can use, again, like a Donald Trump, they can use it as a wedge. And it could be anything. You know what I mean? It could be literally anything. It doesn't matter. They don't care what it is. But then there are also people like this Joseph Mercola who are making a lot of money by telling you that COVID's not real. By telling you the vaccines are bad, or by telling you that, tanning beds are really great. Buy my tanning bed. And, a lot of times it's sort of a two-pronged, again, these people are very savvy. So it's not like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and by the way, buy my tanning bed. It's sort of a two-pronged, like, you saw this, now you see this. Here you go. Oh, you just read this article. Now you're seeing a thing about tanning beds. Maybe you need a tanning bed because you just read this very convincing article about the benefits of tanning beds. And I'm sympathetic to the point, to a point in that again, these people are very savvy at this point. People are very good at spreading disinformation and manipulating our brains. All the tools are there. But on another level, again, I'm just furious. I don't even know what to say about this. I'm furious that we are people. I'll speak for both of us just for a second. We are people who have done everything we're supposed to do. And there are millions of people who've done everything they're supposed to do.
There are.
Everything at tremendous inconvenience and personal cost and, consequence. And now we're so close to being right back where we started, because there are people who make more. There are politicians who do well to create wedge issues, and this is big enough that they can use it. Or there are people who are making money selling vitamins, or there are people who just want more likes on Facebook, and they're not even getting a benefit, but that's the benefit. It's horrifying to me, and it makes me sort of despair for like the future of mankind. That's why I'm not flirting with people lately, but just to tie it all together.
Right. Yeah. No,
people are terrible.
People are terrible. And I'm with you. I am so angry. And I don't really know what to do with that anger because I can't change the reality of the situation, but I'm furious.
And you see, I mean, it's so patently ridiculous and we got to go. But it's, when you see like Donald Trump could be taking, like, sometimes they can't even decide where to wedge people because it's like Donald Trump in one breath is like, I made this vaccine and it's great. And in another breath, don't take that vaccine. It's the Joe Biden trick to get you to get the things, you know what I mean? Like, and again, to some extent, I understand how easy it is to manipulate us. On the other hand, it's like, you can literally just listen to someone speaking out of both sides of their, and that you should be able to process that. Some of it's so patently ridiculous that.
I think that's the exact thing that was on Fox with the whole like, oh, the vaccine is bad and also it doesn't work, and the like, this vaccine is amazing and President Trump created it himself and brought it to us to save us. But you know what will save everybody out there from the sound of tomorrow, Ross?
Anything, dear God, anything. Give me the
salvation. Salvation is in sight. You can flirt during this program, but I recommend you listen and flirt later, because coming up next on WAYO, LP Rochester is the fantastic program Music Matters. So stay tuned, and thanks for tuning into the SOT. Don't tell HR. But I did ask how many fangs he has.
I'm calling HR right now.
He has 3 fangs. His name is 3 Fangs.
Don't call on that. It's mean to pick on him for having 3 fangs.
I'm not picking on him, and he loves it. He thinks it sounds tough. 3 fangs. Like he's a tough alley cat.
You're a tough alley cat.
Yeah, don't cross my path.
Dork. Yeah, time to go.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Actually, though, I do have to go because I have to make dinner, and we've run long, and that's okay, and that's lovely. It's been a lovely time. But poor Mike is going to starve to death.
Yes, he